Committee, Research Circle, and as a moderator of this session, I, Dr. Shweta Rani, take this pride and opportunity to extend a very warm welcome all in day 5 on understanding issues involved in selection of a research problem in social sciences. That is 5th session in series and the 10th day of national level faculty development program on understanding issues of research publication in UGC care journals, which is jointly organized by Council for Teachers Professional Development, abbreviated as CTPD, and Social Development and Research Foundation, that is SDRF. So first and foremost, I'm delighted and honored to welcome Professor Gopal Krishna Thakur, Dean, School of Education, Central University, Wardha, Maharashtra, who is also our guiding path and advisor of the Research Circle and the Honorable President of SDRF. I also extend a warm welcome to Professor Satyendra Gupta sir, Dean, School of Education, Galgotias University, Greater Noida, and also President of CTPD. Our resource person for the day, Professor Aarti Kaul, Dean, School of Education, Sharda University, Greater Noida, Dr. Sanjay Kumar, the convener of Research Circle and Program Director of SDRF, Professor Tanya Gupta, North Zone President of CTPD, and Dean, School of Education, KR Mangalam University, Gurugram, along with other esteemed members of the group, research scholars, and participants of today's session. Now, moving ahead, may I request Professor Gopal Krishna Thakur sir to enlighten us with his visionary presence and inaugural address to the program and to mark the formal beginning of the session. Gopal Krishna sir, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Shweta ji. My heartiest welcome to Professor Aarti Kaul and Professor Tanya ji, Professor Satyendra Gupta ji, Dr. Sanjay Kumar, Dr. Jugnu Khattar Bhatia, and all the participants, all our colleagues, academicians, researchers who are connected, join this virtual platform. And we have been cruising through different times and different phases of the program that we had conceptualized in the beginning to develop a collective census or a sense-making process that we are going through is about research, is about how to write, how to conduct a good research, how to write with due quality, and how to get it published. And for that, this is the 5th day. Now we have been conducting this kind of event on generally on Saturdays or Sundays of every month. And today we have with us Professor Aarti Kaul, and the introduction has been given by Dr. Shweta ji. And we have been grappling, all the academicians, we have been grappling with this issue. Either we are doing research for our own self, for our academic purpose, or we are guiding our research scholars, or we are conducting, we are planning to take up a research project from different sourcing agencies. And the first and foremost issue is about how to go for a topic, how to decide, how to genuinely identify a research problem. And today, Aarti ji will be deliberating on this issue, elaborating it, and enlightening on this issue is a great boon. And we have been, seeing, hum log jab dekhte hain, now we have our research scholars, they come to us and they have this tendency that without doing much, हमारे गाइड हमको बता दें कि कौन सा टॉपिक हमें चूज करना है, और कोई रिसर्च प्रोजेक्ट हम लेते हैं तो वी कंसल्ट पीपल कि भाई कोई बता दो कौन सा है, और वी गो थ्रू सम, वी डू सम रिसर्च रिव्यूज एंड देन वी कनेक्ट सम डॉट्स बेस्ड ऑन 4 उधर से वेरिएबल्स ले लिया, 2 इधर से वेरिएबल्स ले लिया, कनेक्ट कर लिया, और एक हाइपोथेटिकल रिसर्च गैप हमने बना दिया, क्रिएट कर दिया, which are not truly the research gap that we tend to proceed. ऑन वर्किंग। तो ये इशू है कि हम कैसे रिसर्च टॉपिक चुने, क्या लेना चाहिए। अभी हमने राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति, जो नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी डॉक्यूमेंट आया है, जनरली हम कहते हैं that while deciding any research problem, we should see whether it should be locally need based, it should be socially relevant, it should be nationally important, it should be globally significant. तो ये डायमेंशंस तो होते हैं, ये बड़े बड़े डायमेंशंस हैं, थियोरेटिकल डायमेंशंस हैं जो मॉडल की तरह हैं, लेकिन उसके बीच में अमिड्स ऑल दीज थिंग्स हम ट्रूली किस तरह से करें। फिर हमारी अपनी भी एबिलिटी, हमारी अपनी रिसर्च ट्रेनिंग, आवर ओन एकेडमिक एंड रिसर्च बैकग्राउंड, और हमारा ओरिएंटेशन, डेप्थ ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग अबाउट द डिफरेंट पैराडाइम्स ऑफ रिसर्च, ये सब इश्यूज हैं जो हमें कहीं ना कहीं दे पुट इट इन अ फिक्स while formulating the research topic or issues. तो मुझे लगता है कि दिस इज वेरी रेलिवेंट, और जब हम लोग काम करेंगे, जानेंगे, और तब भी कुछ, क्योंकि एक बड़ा इश्यू रहा है। मैं बस एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल दे करके आई विल कंक्लूड। आई रिमेम्बर मेरा एक ग्रैंडसन है, मेरे नेफ्यू का बेटा, while he was studying mathematics in ड्यूक यूनिवर्सिटी, तो वहां अभी यूनिवर्सिटी में जाने से पहले जो उसके एडमिशन का बेस बना वो उसके स्कूलिंग में किए गए प्रोजेक्ट का था, और स्कूल टाइम में ही वोन $10,000 अवार्ड इन अ कंपटीशन, जिसमें कि वो मैथमेटिकल मॉडल उसने डेवलप किया था, और वो मैथमेटिकल मॉडल जो था वो ऑल ओवर यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स में वो एक कंपटीशन अरेंज किया गया था। अब स्कूल लेवल पर उन 4 बच्चों ने जो किया, द प्रॉब्लम, द टॉपिक ऑफ देयर दैट प्रोजेक्ट वाज कि अगर कोई एक इस्टेब्लिशमेंट है जहां पर कि thousands or hundred of thousands people are working every day, and if somehow there is a terror attack or some disastrous situation appears out of the blue, तो बिना किसी कैजुअलिटी के, विदाउट एनी कैजुअलिटी, हाउ टू इवैक्यूएट people from that building or complexes or the establishment. अब इसके लिए उन्होंने एक मॉडल, मैथमेटिकल मॉडल दे proposed, which was research based, which was data based, meticulously done analysis based. तो ये हमें लगा, एक और इशू था कि जो मॉर्निंग और इवनिंग ट्रैफिक कंजेशन होते हैं उसको कैसे दूर किया जाए। इवन फॉर दैट दे सजेस्टेड अ मैथमेटिकल मॉडल। आई वाज जस्ट थिंकिंग, आई वाज कंपेल्ड टू थिंक कि हम जेन्युइनली जो काम करते हैं वो काम किस तरह के होने चाहिए। ऐसे रिसर्च टॉपिक जिसको लेकर के हम कर लेते हैं, और हम आफ्टर वी कंप्लीट आवर थीसिस, आफ्टर वी राइट द डिसर्टेशन और थीसिस, एंड द पर्पस, एकेडमिक पर्पस इज डन, लाइक द अवार्ड इज गिवन, हमें पीएचडी मिल जाती है, फिर मिल जाती है, व्हाटएवर इट इज। उसके बाद वो थीसिस लाइब्रेरी की शेल्फ में चला जाता है। वी डोंट रिमेंबर इवन व्हाट आर रिटन इन दैट। तो क्या रिसर्च इस पर्पस के लिए होना चाहिए, या रिसर्च वो होना चाहिए जो उन स्कूल के बच्चों ने किया कि ट्रैफिक कंजेशन में क्या कोई मैथमेटिकल मॉडल रियली काम कर सकता है क्या, इफ दे बिलोंग टू द डिसिप्लिन ऑफ मैथमेटिक्स। सिमिलरली, इफ like we have different domains of knowledge, we have different disciplinary background, तो हमारा जो discipline of knowledge है, which way it can be for the betterment of the mankind, for the betterment of society. Actually, I feel purpose of any research endeavor should be that कि कोई भी काम हम करते हैं तो we should suggest, we should come up with some solutions related to the problems that the humanity in general faces in our day-to-day life, or for a, like for a longer period of time. तो हम रिसर्च को उस डायरेक्शन में ले जाएं, या रिसर्च हम छोटा सा करके और 4 पन्ने का 5 पन्ने का कोई हम आर्टिकल लिख लें, रिसर्च पेपर लिख लें, उस तरह का रिसर्च क्या होना चाहिए? तो ये मैं देखता हूं कि ओरिजिनलिटी ऑफ वर्क, उस तरफ में हमें जाना चाहिए। अगर स्कूल के बच्चे एक प्रोजेक्ट कर रहे हैं जो कि हमारी सोशल या डेली लाइफ से जुड़ी हुई है, उन प्रॉब्लम्स को एड्रेस कर रही है, वो कहीं ना कहीं से लगता है कि हाँ, दीज आर दी वर्क्स दैट शुड बी प्रमोटेड, दैट शुड बी डन। और जो यंगस्टर्स उस लेवल पर कर रहे हैं, तो हम जो, और हमारा जो यूथ है, और हम तो दुनिया की, हम कहते हैं बड़े ही गर्व से कि 50% पॉपुलेशन हमारी जो है वो यंग है, और दुनिया की सबसे बड़ी यंग आबादी पॉपुलेशन हम हैं। तो हमें उस डायरेक्शन में सोचने की जरूरत है, और उसके लिए डेफिनेटली हमारा जो एकेडमिक इंटरवेंशन है, हम सब की जो थोड़ी बहुत ड्यूटीज बनती है इसमें, टू इंस्पायर, टू मोटिवेट टू द न्यू कमर्स और यंगस्टर्स और आवरसेल्व्स एज वेल, कि किस तरह के काम हम करें, किस तरह के रिसर्च करें, जिससे कि वाकई हम कुछ सोशली रेलिवेंट कर सकें। और जब हम सोशली रेलिवेंट करेंगे, लोकली नीड बेस्ड करेंगे, तो डेफिनेटली दैट वुड बी ऑफ nationally, that would be nationally important as well as globally significant. तो इस दिशा में today we have Professor Aarti ji, and we are eager to listen to her. तो मैं पुनः एक बार स्वागत करता हूं आरती जी का, और हम सभी सुनते हैं। थैंक यू आरती जी दैट यू स्पेयर्ड योर टाइम। आई नो दिस टाइम इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट। हम सब अपने अपने प्रोफेशनल लाइफ में कितने बिजी रहते हैं, एंड हम सभी हैं, एंड आपने समय निकाला इसके लिए हार्टफेल्ट थैंक्स। और इसी के साथ में आई विल कंक्लूड एंड ओवर टू डॉक्टर श्वेता जी to go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Gopalji. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for providing your valuable address to the audience, providing the required dimension, and setting up a pace for today's much-awaited discussion and deliberation, quoting examples from daily life, especially addressing humanity. So on behalf of CTPD and SDRF, may I have your august presence to formally welcome our resource person of the day, Professor Aarti Kaul, Dean, School of Education, Sharda University, Greater Noida, in the 10 days national level faculty development program on understanding issues of research publication in UGC care journals. Professor Aarti Kaul is a renowned and well-acclaimed academician and educationist. Professor Kaul is presently serving as Dean, School of Education, Sharda University. She is a doctorate in education from Jamia Millia Islamia, where she received a fellowship from ICSSR for her research work on mentor relationship and talent development. She specializes in the field of educational psychology and pedagogy of language teaching. Her areas of interest include life skills, education, and pedagogy. She has more than 35 years of teaching experience. Her work experience spans across a time of 3 decades, with her professional roles encompassing both teaching positions as well as administrative posts. She was appointed as the chairperson of the KV Sangathan Interview Committee on numerous occasions, and is also a visiting team member of the NCTE. She has authored many books under the broad domain of education. Her research publications can be found in the national and international journal of high repute. Along with earning various academic accolades, she is actively working with various NGOs for the education of children belonging especially to the marginalized sections of the society. That is something really commendable. So without much ado, I would request Professor Aarti Kaul to begin with her expert talk and enlighten the audience with her visionary approach and expertise on the topic, understanding issues involved in selection of a research problem in social sciences. Pam, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Shweta. Thanks for this elaborate introduction. I don't know whether I deserve it or not, but anyways, thanks. Professor Gopal, thank you for raising pertinent concerns in, am I audible to you? Professor Gopal, thank you for raising pertinent concerns and issues that we face.
Yeah, you are very much audible. Very much audible, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So you have raised pertinent issues and concern with regard to research. Research, I feel these days has become a mundane activity, right from, as you rightly said, jumbling of variables together and then forming a topic and then coming out with certain procedural things and submitting it. So the quest for the answers to the question is not there. I cannot see in many of my scholars or students or peer group. So this is, I think this is overall to do with the quality of the education, that we are facing somewhat a crisis in the quality of education, be it a postgraduate degree course or a graduate degree course or a PhD course. During my experience as a guide to my scholars, I have seen they come to me, PhD karna, kyun karna PhD? Nahin, I want to go for higher education. Why do you want to go for higher education? School education, I cannot handle kids. That is not. Or my husband or a father or mother, they want me to do it. So anyways, we are there and we take them. But the rigor, the academic rigor that one has to have for research is, I'm a little bit disturbed on that account. So the zeal to do it, the passion to do it, and the motivation for such projects is, I should say, I don't see much of it. So that is a real concern. Whatever the quality of the PhD we are coming out with, I don't, that is why UGC said that we need to revise all the theses of past 10 years, because there is a question mark on the quality. Having said this, these forums or these fora, I think can help us to better understand the processes of research, to understand the nuances of the research, and to understand how we can go further about it. So this is the appropriate time for, I must also thank you, for the council, for choosing this time as an appropriate time, because we are all done away with the daily chores and everything else, and we have a time for ourselves so that we can sit peacefully and deliberate upon it. So the choice of the time is also very pertinent. Now, the topic that has been assigned to me is like selection of understanding the issues and challenges in formulating a problem in social science. If I'm not worded it exactly, but the sum and substance is the same. Research, as Dr. Shweta said, it's omnipresent. Everybody does it. When we look for any question, any answer to a question, that is a research. When we systematically try to come to conclusions or systematically try to infer something, that is a research. Maybe at the small level or maybe at the bigger level, we have certain vast number of questions, very in-depth questions where the answers take a long time, a deliberate time, a systematic time and effort. That is research. But this research, how if we think how did it come, this research? Earlier, when the society was at its nascent stage, the people lived in small groups. They didn't have much to do. They had just to feed themselves. And then there was, as the society began to grow, we were governed by these spiritual texts. These spiritual texts in any religion, be it Christianity, be it Hinduism, be it Islam or any other religion, they were considered as the wisdom of gods that was documented. And the people were supposed to follow these wise principles and the wisdom or the knowledge of these texts to the T. But as the society began to grow, as people began to develop in their professions, in their life, in their communities and societies, these texts were also questioned. There was people try to question these texts, whether the facts presented in these texts are relevant, are they scientific, are they logical? So there came the need for the research. This research was not a specialized study. This was based on, this was an immature sort of a research which needed no special study, but observation, inference, and then sort of a question which could satisfy your curiosity. But as the human race progressed, as the human life progressed, as the societies progressed, these issues, the societal issues, were not simple. The social order was not simple. It was not static. The social norms would change from time to time. It required an in-depth study of the people, the communities, their social order, their social life, their social interactions. So this grew as a body of knowledge, not only on the social side, social sciences side, which deals with societal norms, which deals with people, which deals with how people behave, what is the dynamics of their relationship, but also the natural sciences. You must be all remembering Galileo when he was stoned to death, when he said that the earth moves in a particular way. Then the same point was proved right by science. Or there are many other examples where the people would come out with their inferences, which was thought to be against the wishes of the God, against the doctrines that were presented in these scriptures. They were not accepted. But as I said, as the time grew, the people thought of having logical, reasonable conclusions to the inferences that they could make. They thought of studying these practices with a question mark in their mind, with a curiosity, with seeking certain answers. And in this process of seeking answers, whether it be about natural sciences, whether it be of social sciences, we came with the research. That is just how this research came about. When we speak of sciences, as you all know, it's an exact theory of knowledge, which can be proved exactly, which can be experimented. They call science as an exact body of knowledge. Its epistemology is exact. It can be verified at any point, at any point of time, by any number of people, by n number of people. It can be verified. It can be quantified. The conclusions are same. The inferences are same. Everything is same. But unlike social sciences, which is about the study of human beings, the relationship of human beings, the dynamics of human beings within a society, within a social order, within some communities, here there are difficulties in this field has some difficulties because this is not an exact science. This is a science about individuals. These individuals who are constantly changing, who are constantly evolving, the societies that are constantly changing and that are constantly evolving. So it's very difficult to have a genuine research in social science, though we have research in social science, but the exact nature of these disciplines is that these disciplines are subjective disciplines. Our social science disciplines are subjective disciplines. They are ever-changing disciplines. They are not static disciplines. Hence, it needs a different type of mindset to address the questions of social sciences. So let me share my screen with you. So this is the topic, understanding issues involved in selection of a research problem in social science. Just a moment. I think my share screen is paused.
Ma'am, you can just try loading it once again. You do have the co-host rights. Just try, please, once again.
Okay, ma'am. I cannot move it. Can you see it?
Yes, we can see your screen. Yes, it is moving, ma'am.
Okay. So my deliberation to this evening would be like, what is a research problem in social science? Sources, strategies of selection, research paradigm, criteria of selection of a problem, do's and don'ts of selection, steps in formulating research problem, moving from interest to topic to research problem and questions, narrowing the topic and refining the ideas. And after all this, if you cannot still clearly formulate the problem, so bombarding with additional questions, because research question is an important thing in selection of a research problem or in formulating a research problem. Steps in formulating a research problem. Research is a dynamic and complex process, and the conclusion. So if I move ahead, so as I said, social sciences are not exact as pure sciences. And these sciences, these social sciences, be it anthropology, be it economics, be it law, be it education, be it psychology, they are systematic method of exploring and analyzing and conceptualizing human life in order to extend, correct, or verify the knowledge of human behavior and social life. The research is not only about applicability. The research is not only about the research is also about creating knowledge in of human behaviors, of human life, of societal life, of communities living in a society. It seeks to find explanation to unexplained social phenomena, to clarify the doubtful and correct the misconceived facts of social life. So it's a creation of knowledge. Research aids in creation of knowledge. That is why we say the philosophy of the research has one of its legs on epistemology, wherein we seek answers to the questions that are unanswered. We create theories, we create laws, we create principles which are then applied in human life, for the betterment of human life. So social science research explores, it looks into the human life, it looks into the dynamics of the human life, it looks into how communities grow and how communities evolve, it looks into the social order of a particular society, it sometimes corrects whatever is incorrect, or sometimes again verifies the knowledge about human behavior and social life. That is how we grow. If I don't know whether all of us are from the discipline of education, we came with, in psychology, we came with different schools of thought. We started with structuralism, then we moved on to behaviorism, then we moved on to cognitivism and social constructivism, and so on. So what did we do with all these things? We created some theories, we created certain laws, we created certain principles and beliefs wherein we could study how teaching learning or how learning takes place in an individual. And these theories, structuralists, it is in the early 19th century, it's still prevalent. Behavioristic thought, late in 1890, towards 1897 or 1901, Thorndike came with the principle. Classical conditioning and operant conditioning, we are there, and we have seen how we have applied the findings, the theories, the laws of these learning principles in teaching learning situations till now. So with social science research, we not only try to understand the problems, but we try to contribute to the knowledge in the existing domains, try to correct the existing knowledge, try to verify the knowledge, seek answers to the questions which are not explained. So again, in social science research, we have theoretical research and we have applied. As I gave you the example of just how we progressed with the thought of learning in psychology, I'm reminded of two theories, classical conditioning and operant conditioning. We have different laws, theories in these laws and principles in these two theories. The principle of reinforcement is applied everywhere in every human phenomenon, in every human endeavor. The principle of reinforcement, what does that say? The principle of reinforcement, that is an applied part of this research. What does that principle of reinforcement say? It says when we have to strengthen the connection between stimulus and response, the response which is given should be rewarded if it's good, and or we can decrease the strength of the response by eliminating the response. So it directly comes from the theoretical principle of reinforcement in operant conditioning. And not only this, if we see micro teaching, which we till now in 2023, we have in our syllabus the micro teaching. The students learn their skills of teaching and learning through micro teaching. What is the source of this micro teaching? This is an applied thing wherein the students practice a particular skill in teaching, so that to gain perfection in that particular skill. So where from does it come? It has certain theoretical principle. It has theoretical background, again, of the connectivist approach of teaching and learning, or the behavioristic approach of teaching and learning, which says the behavior can be broken in different parts, and if each part is given a proper drill, given proper exposure, or the connection between stimulus and response is reinforced time and again, the student learns. That is why we have in micro teaching a cycle of 36 minutes wherein we plan, teach, and then we get feedback and replan, reteach, and again get the feedback. So if we see, this is the applied principle of social science research, but which has basis in psychology, which has basis in education, which has basis in philosophy, and which has basis in sociology also. So these, and again, I should say it here, this social science as a discipline is a fluid discipline, because there is a confluence of many disciplines in this discipline, so that it makes domain of what is called as social science. So the research starts, the important thing in a research is the research question. The foundation of research process begins with a research question. I must say that a researcher should have enthusiasm or a curiosity like a child. Do you know, we must have all seen children who are very enthusiastic, curiosity driven, imaginative driven at a very young age. They will ask you these questions: why do stars twinkle? Why is sometimes moon half and sometimes moon full? Why is the sun only seen during the day? Why is sun hot at times and why is it not hot during the in other seasons? So these are the questions that children usually ask. But alas, these questions are not replied by us properly. The children lose the curiosity of asking the questions because they are in our classes. Such questions are not taken well by the teachers. They are not treated well. I must say they are not treated well by the teachers. Professor Krishan Kumar, I must quote here, I was reading his article regarding language. He said the children at a very young age are very talkative. They are they want to ask questions. They speak a lot. But what do we do in our classrooms? The teacher says, finger on your lips, don't make noise. It's a common observation. The finger on your lips and don't make noise. But I must say, in this noise, there is a lot of creativity. In this noise, there is a lot of learning. In this noise, there are lots of questions. So these questions remain unanswered. That is why here at this stage, when the researcher comes to us, we ask him, what is your problem? He is clueless. We ask him, do you have any questions in a particular domain? He is clueless. So the process of research should start with curiosity. It should start with an unease and discomfort within the researcher, an imbalance in his thoughts, so that he would have a passion, he would have a zeal, he would learn, he would have energy to look for answers to his or her questions, maybe with his guide or maybe without his guide. Research is not PhD. Research is the curiosity to answer the question. PhD is the product that we get, or a certificate that we are awarded, but the research is genuinely asking the questions that disturb you and finding and seeking the answers to those questions. So the problem of the research, the question of the research should be well thought, should be it should, as Dr. Gopal mentioned, it should have social applicability. It should be good for the humanity, the findings of the research. It should be locally based, or it can be nationally and internationally leveraged. But that leverage will only come when we are genuine with our questions, when we are thoughtful about our questions, when we are innovative in our questions. It's again, it's not jumbling of variables here and there and getting and formulating a topic. No, we should be genuinely curious about certain things, and this curiosity should create a state of disequilibrium within us, so that we can look for the answers and create the equilibrium within us. As we have seen, जब बच्चे को कोई भूख लगती है, वो जोर जोर से रोता है और अपना वो खाना लेके रखता है. Similarly, we should have that book for the research. We should have that hunger for genuine research, wherein our questions should be innovative, wherein our questions should be original, wherein our questions should be thought-provoking, wherein again our questions should be creative. So the edifice of research rises on this research question. So so what is the research about? As we have discussed, a question that needs to be answered, a concept that the researcher wants to understand, a crisis that needs to be resolved. And during past 2 years, we have seen there was a pandemic all over the world, and how this crisis has been resolved. This research has come to our rescue in combating the virus, not only combating the virus in a physical form, but the other things that were associated with it, like mental illness, mental ill health, irritability syndrome, and many other psychological dimensions that came with us were also resolved through research. Or it can be a situation that needs to be changed, or it can be a reason for dissatisfaction. We see that nowadays this social order is changing a lot. Yesterday, like there was a news on TV which made me think, is the education going in correct direction? But again, this is again under the purview of the research. The research can ask these questions, which are quite alarming questions that needs to be asked. What's the culture of our universities? What is the role of administrators in the university? How can the culture of the universities be academically groomed? Why are there elements in the universities or in our social milieu that are not favorable or conducive to the growth of the individual? These are the research questions. These are the situations that we are in, and these questions need to be answered. And how can we answer these questions? These questions can be answered only through a research problem or through a research question. Now, what is a social science research question? So again, the social science research question, as I earlier told you, it's about people, it's about communities, it's about the world in general, it's about any geography in particular. It can be about history, it can be about economics, wherein we seek to the answers. How do we seek these answers? We seek these answers through the data, and this data is the first-hand data, or it can be the second-hand data, and whereby we analyze the data and come to the conclusion. Now, it's not as simple as that because this social data is very complex. This social data does not remain static as the data in science. This social data is affected by history, culture, religion, politics of a particular time, the economics of the particular time. This social data has complexities. It is not as if it's free. It has its own limitations. So everything is affected. As I said, these social science is a fluid domain of a knowledge wherein the borders or the boundaries of one subject merge seamlessly into the boundary of the other subject. So if the subject is fluid, if the subject is amorphous, how can the data of this subject, or how can the knowledge of this subject, or how can the problems of this subject remain simple? They are very complex in nature. Because they are about people, because they are about society, because they are about social norms, social ethics and values. They are about time. They are about the cultural heritage, the historical heritage, and these things surely affect the data. These things surely affect the society, the societal norms, and the community, hence making it complex situation for social science researchers to understand this data. Then there are problems of concepts. So more or less, the concepts of social science are interpretive in nature, inferential in nature. It cannot be like a chemical formula. Suppose sulfuric acid is always H2SO4. That means 2 parts of hydrogen, 1 part of sulfur, and 4 parts of oxygen make sulfuric acid. But the and the concept, or this acid has certain properties which can be verified, tested, observed at any given point in time, at any place, at any by any person. But the problems and the concepts of social science are different. Freedom, suppose I take the concept of freedom. Freedom means different things to different people. For these times here, there is freedom of expression has become a debate. Political will again has become a debate. So, as we come to our domain in education, we see that in research, we have to operationalize our definition. If I say self-esteem, I will say for my research purposes, self-esteem means these many things. And other may include many other things in self-esteem. So our problems of concepts are again, because it is, as I said, it's not an exact science. The problems of concepts are relatively subjective, relatively inferential. Hence, there is again some difficulty in formulating the problem. Problems in interpreting relationship between cause and effect. To a certain effect, there can be many causes, unlike science. Science, to a certain phenomena, it has well-defined causes, but here in social sciences, to a certain effect, there can be many causes. Suppose a child throws a tantrum. So what is the reason of the tantrum? There can be many causes with regard to different children in different places, in different geographies, in different points of time. Drug abuse is a menace. So what are the causes of drug abuse among the adolescents, or among the children, or so there can be many causes. So again, interpreting relationship between cause and effect, maybe there are some causes that are documented, maybe there are some causes that are researched, but there can be many causes which are still unknown, which are still, maybe that are because of the time that we live in, because of the social norms that we are here, because of the society that we live in, the causes may also change. So again, interpreting those causes of those effects again becomes difficult. Then dynamic nature of social phenomena. The social phenomena, I need not to repeat. It's dynamic, it's not static, it's changing. Every moment there is a change, and to change not only in the physical structure, but the change in people's minds, the change in people's thoughts, the change in people's aspirations, and the change in people's values. So thus it becomes the research becomes difficult in these circumstances. Again, problem of maintaining objectivity. So social science research, as I said, is subjective, it's interpretative, it's inferential. So that means we do not rely much on objectivity. There are subjective inferences, there are subjective interpretations of the research. So it cannot be as objective as science. And again, because since we are dealing with a situation which is fluid, since we are dealing with people who are changing, the societies that are changing, so predictability is a concern here. We cannot always predict the results. Our results may go, same problem at same geography may have different results, because their causes may be different, and their effects may also be different. Difficulty in verifying inferences. We do not have exact methods like science. We do not have labs as in social science where these inferences that we have derived can be objectively verified. And most of the social science research is not done by experimental method. There are other methods by which we can do these research. So this gives us an impression that finding a problem in social science is rather difficult, but it doesn't mean that we cannot do it. The answer only lies in raising our thoughts, raising our questions, looking into the data, drawing inferences out of the data, trying to validate that data against certain theories which are initially there, so that we can come to a conclusion. So now we understand the limitation of our research in social science. For these limitations, these limitations can as well be addressed by different paradigms of research. So the word paradigm, if I may say, it's a 60-year-old word that has been given to us by Thomas Kuhn, where he gave this word in his book, The Structure of Scientific Revolution. He was studying the structure of this scientific revolution. He found that this scientific revolution cannot be understood by one paradigm, by experimental method. No, I cannot find the answer to this question by one method. I have to have different mental frames, different thought processes to understand this scientific revolution. And these mental frames and these processes, he labeled them as with paradigms. So for any given kind of research, there are certain philosophical assumptions which has been like Burrell and Morgan has they have given us different philosophical assumptions for any kind of research. One can be ontology. The second is epistemology. Ontology refers to our assumption as how we see the world. Ontology is how we see, how the world looks, how the world really is. It's based on our real life perception, real life experiences, how we look at the world. And the second is epistemology. Epistemology is how we understand the world. Looking at the world, how objectively we look at the world and how we understand the world forms the basis, forms the philosophical assumption for any research. Suppose the scientific research is that any scientific research looks into how the world operates, how the world is governed by the laws, but the research that deals with these laws takes us to the broader domain of the knowledge, that is epistemology. So for any research, ontology and epistemology forms two pillars with which we can proceed with the research. So if we come to this research paradigm, there is a positivist research paradigm and there is post-positivist research paradigm. The philosophical assumption is ontology and epistemology. Ontology looks the world as it is. So how do we look to the world as it is? We gather the data, we conduct the experiments, we see what is observable, what comes to our eye, what meets our eye, what we can observe, what we can quantify, what we can look through is the positivist approach towards the research, where we can quantify the data, where we can we can empirically verify the data, where we can have a scientific inquiry which can be empirically verified. But everything in social sciences cannot be done by an empirical method. Research cannot be done by an empirical method. We cannot easily see in social sciences what is happening. Suppose a child is, suppose we want to look into the problems of truancy in a particular child. So how can we cannot, we can observe some of it, but we cannot get to the reasons of it. We cannot get to the root cause of it. So root cause of it, we cannot put the child in a lab and experiment on him. No, there are many things which cannot be seen. There are many things where our rationale will work, where our logical reasoning will work, where our inferences will work, where establishing a cause and effect relationship will work, but which cannot be seen by the naked eye. So post-positives rely on the data, which, or rely on the experimentation, rely on the research, which includes analysis, which includes logical reasoning, which sometimes includes intuition, which includes validation of your inner thoughts. So that which cannot be objectified, which cannot be quantified in an experimental manner. So this research paradigm is one of the most post-positivist research paradigm which came into the existence in late 20th century, which is not only numbers, which is not only empirical data, which is subjective, which is interpretative, which is looking deep, dwelling deep into something, trying to infer certain thing, joining certain dots and connecting certain dots, looking for reasons, looking for logical explanations. That is the post-positivist approach towards research. So again, in these two paradigms of research, there is one objectivism and there is one subjectivism. This objectivism, because there is a radical change, because the social order is changing, there are certain type of research where the researcher remains outside the research problem and looks into the reality with numbers, with data, with experimentation. He looks into it. That is called as objectives. Wherein there is the other paradigm wherein the thought process or the will or the thoughts of researcher interfere with the inferences, with the experimentation, with the research process. It's obviously called as subjectivism. Since the world order is changing rapidly, there is a radical change, there is social order is changing. If we look at with objective, if we look at the things with objective reality, it's called as functionalism. And if we look the same reality with subjectivism, it's called as interpretivism. So if there is a radical change in the social order, and if this radical change is looked with objectivism, it is called as radical structuralism. And if this radical change is looked with subjectivity, it's called as radical humanism. So these are some of the paradigms wherein we can. Why I am giving this background, because in choosing a research problem, the paradigm for the research is very, very important. how to approach the research is very important. The mental process to attack the research question is very, very important. So we can have an objectivist perspective, or the subjectivist perspective, or a functionalist perspective, or some other perspective in doing our research, or for that matter, for choosing a research problem. So positivist research, the ontology is, the reality is external, it's law-like. For example, we have the laws of motion. It is an external reality. This reality has come in the form of law. We have three laws of motion. We have Archimedes principle, or these are these are laws which are governed by the external reality. And what is its epistemology? It's objective, it's detached observer. The person is not involved in this reality. He does not have his inner construct influencing this reality, hence it becomes objective. And the methodology of the research is experimental, it's quantitative. Then we have interpretive. Here the ontology is internal reality. There is, one is the external reality, the other is the internal reality. What is going on in my mind? What is going on in terms of my thoughts, emotions, and intelligence? So this is my inner reality. This inner reality is subjective to the experiences of the individual. And what is the epistemology? What is the knowledge domain? It's empathetic. We don't have sympathy, but we are feeling attached with this knowledge. We are feeling as if we are in somebody's shoes. We are observers. We observe this reality with a subjective paradigm, wherein our emotions, our will, our thoughts are making a dent on this reality. And the methodology of research is interactional, interpretational, or qualitative. Then the third paradigm of the research out of these paradigms is construction, wherein the realities are changing day in and day out. That means they are being constructed reality, and there is a discourse to those realities, to understand those realities. So as we see that we also have in teaching and learning this constructive paradigm of teaching and learning, wherein we say teaching and learning, the learning is co-constructed by the teacher and by the learner in a classroom situation. So these realities are co-constructed. These realities take form of the discourse. They are debatable. They are interactive. And why? Because we look at the knowledge with a bit of suspicion. There is political, there is influences, political, economic, or other influences that govern these social realities, which are day in and day out constructing. There are observers who are engaged in constructing these or co-creating the knowledge domain very frequently. And the methodology of such type of research is deconstruction, textual analysis, and discourse analysis, which is a predominant research discourse that has emerged in the domain of social sciences. So what are the sources of research? As we say, the sources of research are only these: ontology, epistemology, and methodology. What is the world like? How we see the world, and how we study the world, and what are the methods that are employed to study the world. So research question, any research problem in social science should look at how we can see the world. The world here means the world of people, the world of communities living together, the world of young, the world of old, the world of working, the world of students, the world of learners. And what are we creating about looking the world? We are creating certain knowledge bases, we are creating certain knowledge domains, and these knowledge domains are also a function of research and these research questions. And not only this, what methodology can we employ for answering the questions of ontology and epistemology should also form a basis of the research question. So as we can see, so we know the sources of research and then the paradigms of research. Again, there are different approaches to research. As we know, the inductive research and deductive research. Inductive research starts with initial speculation, assumption, and perspectives. Then we take certain observations, we test those observations, we develop a theory, and then we better come focused with these observations. And deductive research is just opposite of it. A deductive research theory, we have the hypothesis, we have the observation, interpretation, again we give rise to theory. Most of the research that we do these days is based on these two paradigms of the research, or these two methodologies. So research process starts with selection of research topic, review of literature, or the theory, or the background, or the epistemology of that domain, then delimiting the research topic, evaluating the research problem, and formulating the final statements. So who do we study in research? We study population, we study people, we study a subject area. So when we study population, we study people, we study organization, we study groups, we study individual, we study community. So there is a humongous amount of research that has happened on teachers. Teachers is a community. There is humongous amount of research that has happened on students. So we study people, we study organizations, we study individuals, we study communities, and they provide us the information that can be applied towards their progress, towards the progress of individuals, towards the progress of organizations, group. And then we study the subject areas. We study issues, we study concerns, we study needs of the populations. We study the attributes, we study the antecedents of various individuals, various groups, various communities. We study cause and effect relationship. So that means we study people, we study problem, we study programs, and we study phenomena. These days, these learning outcomes has become a very NEP has also discussed that the quality of education is not appropriate because we are not able to meet these learning outcomes of the students. 3 decades back, 4 decades back, these learning outcomes was a new terminology, at least in India. But we felt there is a mismatch between what we intend to teach and what the students learn at the end of it. So much research has gone into it. What is the reason? Why don't students learn? What should students learn at a certain developmental stage of that of their age? So it's not that it's coming out of whims and fancies. It's coming about a deliberate research. It's coming about after thorough research that has gone into it. So we specify that at age, suppose at age 6, the child should be able to read small sentences. So it's not only the whims and fancy of certain educator that has come. It has to do with the psychology of the child. It has to do the maturity of the brain of the child. It has to do with the willingness of the child to study. It has to do what do we expect as a society from the children, and how do we want to develop our children so that they can become creative and productive citizens. So much of research has come into place when we say this towards learning outcomes. So it's about, again, these, if we take this example of learning about outcomes, it's about our students, it's about of the problems of our education, it's about the programs of our education that we offer, and it's about the phenomena, the cause and effect relationship. It's about the what cause and effect the decline status of education in our schools. So NEP has again come out that it has to be 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. So this is again come through a deliberate research. Why 5? Because we have seen that the precious years of children are either wasted at home, or they are people who can afford a pre-nursery class or pre-nursery school. It's good for them because there they can utilize the time of the child creatively. But people who cannot afford that these important years of children go waste. So NEP came out that the initial stage, the preparatory stage, should be of 5 years. Why? Because the maximum cognitive development takes place at this stage. And what should be the methodology at this stage? It should be play, it should be playful, it should be storytelling, not listening to stories, storytelling. It should be listening to poems, it should be play, it should be fun, and fun in a way so that the child learns something, his or her cognitive development takes place at a proper span. So again, a lot of research has gone into it. Which years of child's life are important? Why are they important? Which years of child life are critical? How does early education or early learning help in better cognitive development? Again, I say that we say that bilingual children or multilingual children are always better than children who speak one language children. Why? Again, this is come after a strong research after certain serious questions that have been raised. Why do children learn different language? How should children learn different language? If children learn different languages, how does it impact their personality? How does it impact growth? So that means when we take any research problem, it studies either the people or the problem or the program or the course of action that they have taken to, or the phenomena that they are involved in. So now we have understood that this research question is of prime importance in a research. So what are the different types of research questions that we need to, that can be employed to answer our research, our curiosity? There are certain descriptive questions. For example, I have written an example. What are the attitudes of rural parents towards the inclusion of sexuality education in school curriculum? This is not my question. This has been given by Welsheimer and Harris as an example of descriptive question. These descriptive questions seek to describe a phenomena. They seek to answer of what is, how it is, and they try to look into the characteristics or the process of how things or the process of certain things. So what are the attitudes of rural parents towards the inclusion of sexuality in school education? So the researcher will explore the attitudes of these parents, whether how do they view sexual education or gender education in school curriculum, because as I again said, these are society, these are the concerns of the society, whether to include, not to include, why to include. So these descriptive questions are can give us the answer. Or what is the perception of teachers towards happiness curriculum introduced in CBSE schools across India? So happiness curriculum that has been adopted in many of the schools here in India. So how do teachers perceive it? Do they really think that this curriculum will instill a quotient of happiness in the children? Do they feel that this curriculum will do away with the anxieties of children, with the academic anxieties of children? So descriptive question mainly asks the question of like what. Then we have relationship question, because social science tries to establish cause and effect relationship. Though, as I said earlier, these cause and effect relationship, establishing cause and effect relationship in social science is very difficult. So, but nevertheless, there are certain relationship questions that are asked in the research in social sciences. There are correlational questions. So is there any association between self-esteem and eating behaviors among college female swimmers? Again, not my question. This is the question of Faye 1998. So people who have positive self-esteem or high self-esteem about themselves, are their eating behaviors different from those students who have low self-esteem? Because sometimes it has been seen that people who are anxious, people who are suffering some sort of a stress or having certain complexes, some people tend to overeat during these periods, in the periods of tension, stress, and all that. Or people who have certain complex, when faced with certain situations which they do not consider as very comfortable, they resort to eating. So is there any association between these? And these questions can only be asked by these relationship questions. How is academic achievement correlated with self-directed learning? So self-directed learning, as we know, there is no nudge from outside. So the individual is involved in learning. But does it always lead to high academic achievement? So there is a question. People who are lifelong learners, who are self-learners, who have passion and for learning, are they highly, how is their academic achievement related? Are they highly academically, do they achieve high academic standards, or do they achieve low academic standards? So again, these are relationship questions. We can have our research problems formulated around these questions. Then difference questions. Here we see comparison between the groups or within the groups. And it's often associated with the experimental research. Here we make a control group and an experimental group, and then we have a pre-test or a post-test. Then we have some pre-test. We have the scores. Then we have some intervention. If we have a pre-test poster, or we have an experimental and control group, wherein we can compare the difference in results. But in social sciences, this experimental research is limited, because, as I said, is limited, and then it's also subjective. It's not objective as in as in pure sciences. It's subjective because here the inference of the results or the interpretation of the results again depends, again has an element of subjectivity of the person who views these results. So as an example, we have, does participation in Special Olympics affect the self-esteem of adults with mental retardation? So see, there are, if we look into this problem, or if we look into this research question, does participation in social Olympics affect the self-esteem of adults with mental retardation? So there are many things. A person with having mental retardation, how is his self-esteem? And there are many people with these problems who have very high self-esteem about themselves, and there are as well some people who may have low self-esteem. And if these people, or if these persons participate in certain games, sports, or other things, does their self-esteem get boosted or not? Again, it is a matter of investigation with different questions. So all these things, all these questions which form the basis of a good research problem can be taken up depending upon the ontology, depending upon the epistemology, and depending upon the methodology of your research problem, of your research topic. Now, these are different types of research questions. How to identify a research problem? So reading, intense reading, exhaustive reading, intensive reading. And I'm sorry again to say that we have lost that habit of reading. Like people generally have lost the habit of reading. Reading is an window to the world. Reading is, reading provides an answers to your thoughts, to your questions. Reading gives practical dimension to your thoughts. So one of the major strategies for identifying a typical problem, identifying a relevant, socially relevant, nationally applicable, internationally of some use, some problem, is to have extensive reading, in-depth reading, because in-depth reading will give you the insights into the research problem, into the various facets of the problem, into the gaps of that problem. As Professor Gopal mentioned, that these gaps are automatically, these gaps spring up. This is not a serious thought has gone into looking into these gaps. So reading provides us extensive reading, and I will say intensive also. Reading provides us an insight into the problem, its different dimensions, its philosophy, its practicability, how things are to be done. So reading gives us this. Then academic experience. Academic experience, wherever you work, or work experience, again, is a very powerful tool in identifying a research problem. As a teacher, as teachers, we come across several questions, several situations, several observations, which we have no clue. But what do? We pass on to the next question, or to the next class, or to the next day, without even trying to look into these questions, without trying to look into these situations, which might need certain answers for better, as teachers, for better teaching and learning. So again, our academic, and since all of us are teachers, so I'll be talking about the teaching and learning situations. Exposure to the field situation. So what do we observe at workplaces? What do we observe while the children are engaged in learning? What do we observe? How teachers deal with a particular situation? How the leadership is affected? How are the various methods to improve the leadership? What should be a typical a good leader like? What are the attributes of good leader? How is it we can make good leaders? So it all comes from by the exposure to some of these example I'm telling you. So comes from the field situation. Then consultations, talking to people, community service providers, managers, researchers. So we have we are just post-pandemic. In this post-pandemic area, we have seen what pandemic has, how it affected our learning. But our teaching and learning didn't stop for a very long time. It came up. So we made even during pandemic, we made up at least the metropolitan cities. I'm not too sure of tier 2 and tier 3 towns, were they able to continue with their teaching and learning. But at least the schools and colleges and universities in metropolitan cities, tier 1 cities, they continued with their teaching and learning, or their engagement with the students and different stakeholders of education. How did it happen? It happened when there were service providers like the Zoom, like the internet. It happened with a particular leadership or particular managers of that organization. It happened with the help of the research. It helped by the people who were living in the community. They felt the need that the teaching learning should resume, and they came with alternative solutions. So the problems were there, but it was confronted at different levels, and we came to certain solution with the help of the research. Similarly, the problems, research problems, can be dealt with consultation with different people, with the people in the community, be it a teaching community, be it a learning community, be any community, be by different service providers, by researchers. Brainstorming of ideas is very, very important. You have a question. For a question, there can be many answers, and among suppose for a question you have thousands of answers, and out of these thousands of answers, maybe one or two will be relevant. And how would you arrive at these two relevant answers? It will be only with the help of brainstorming of the ideas. And particularly in social science, which is about people, which is for the people, where the experimental thing is not limited to the laboratories, where people's minds are the laboratories. Here we have to take the advantage of the ideas of the people to identify a very plausible research problem that can be a genuine research in true sense. And then carrying out exploratory studies with those research problems. Intuition. I said earlier also, gut is, or my gut feeling, my intuition plays a very important, or anybody's intuition plays a very, very important part in research, in social science research. And this intuition doesn't come offhand, because they say the solutions come to a prepared mind. Creativity begets creativity. Fertile mind is a fertile brain is the source of ideas. So this fertility of fertility of the brain, ideas generation power of the brain, it it's totally depends on your academic reading, on the work experience, on how observant of how sensitive are you at the workplace, how ready are you to face the questions at the workplace, how ready are you to face the challenges of the at the workplace. So these are some of the sources or strategies for identifying a research problem. So when I said reading, when I said intensive reading, when I said extensive reading, here I may add critical reading. It will include the critical reading of past research. What does it mean by critical reading? How does it help you in evaluating your problem? It helps you to know what has happened in the past. It gives you an idea how is it going into the future. But in between past and future, there are various things that you can examine. What was the methodology? What was the population? What was the sample? What was the questionnaire? What were the tools? What were the research gaps? How exact was the research? How meaningfully was the research called? How relevant were the questions? How relevant was the problem? So critical reading of the past research will not only give you an insight about the past research, but it will help you to create a path for your research. Okay, this was done. Let me do this thing. This is not still explored. Let me explore this. This has not been still answered. Let me answer this. So that is the critical reading of past research. Reading general background information. So even if you read critically, you examine the fault lines, you try to think over them, you try to see how can these fault lines be addressed through your research. The general reading or the background of the information of the particular domain is also very, very important. So because this broader domains gives you the broader idea about that discipline in terms of theories, in terms of principles, in terms of law, in terms of a whole body of knowledge of that particular domain. So with this whole body of knowledge of that particular domain, one can be truly and critically engaged in having a critical review of past literature. And of course, we should be ready to learn. We should be ready to have a scientific bent of mind, where in we can analyze the problems, where we can break the problems into different components and seek solution to smaller problems. Maybe it's not the research problem should be a big one, but it can be a smaller one of a bigger component where we can try to answer those questions. And reading up, of course, about research methodology. Is the research methodology that I am adopting feasible? Is it viable? Is it viable in terms of money, viable in terms of time, viable in terms of the resources I have? Is it viable? Then studies on similar topics. Again, review is meant for that. Review is meant what has been done, how has it been done, what are the recommendations, what are the suggestions, what is the result, how can I improve upon the results that have been. Is there a scope of improvement? Are there certain gaps within the research? Then interesting studies and studies in other subjects will also help us to formulate the research problem. So what are the internal criteria of selection? First, resource. Do I have enough resource, not only financial resources, do I have enough time at my hand so that I can be a researcher. I can devote enough time. I can devote enough time to my study. I can devote enough time to my data collection or to any other thing. So I should have enough time. I should, it's not that 2 years, so 2.5 years I have to submit. No, if your problem is not finding any solution, you may take time, and do you have that privilege of time? And then do you have finances? Do you have appropriate resources to deal with your research? So again, this is one of the important criteria while you can select a research problem for you. So there are 5 W's that we need to ask ourselves. What is my research? What is my research about? Does my research have significance to me? Does my research have significance to the community I belong? Does my research have significance with the stakeholders of that community? Does my research have relevance with the local community? And then, of course, to national and international community. Why do I want to research the rationale? Why do I want to do it? Do I want to do it for getting a degree? Do I have a genuine question to ask myself? Can this question be probed? Can this question have answer? And if this question can have answer, how should I go about it? What is my inner motivation? Because as we have seen that these days, again, I'm saying some of the people do not have that inner motivation for doing research. They get for getting a degree, they get for getting a certificate, and then the relevance of the research, the application of the research remains as they are. So who are my research participants? Who are my subjects? Where am I going to do research? So do I have requisite skills, experience, and personal characteristics on what I am doing? Do I have clarity on the subjects? And when I am going to do this research, these are some of the questions that the researcher needs to have answers to these questions. So these are internal criteria, then there are external criteria. Does the research have a relevance, a social relevance, a significance for, first of all, for myself beyond getting a degree? Beyond getting a degree, does this research have a relevance? Does this research have a relevance for my my personality, my persona, or does it have a relevance to the community? Does it have a relevance to my immediate society? Can the results of research be applied in any which ways for the betterment or upliftment of the society? Ultimately, what is education about? Education is about human growth. Education is about removing the suffering, the pain, the sufferings of the individuals. Education is about the humane character of the society. So if you find that the research is relevant to address these criteria, so you should take this research. Otherwise, you look for some other thing. It's not, research is not that you are looking, you are looking something in a dark room and then you are coming with an answer. No, it's not like that. You are looking with your wide eyes wide open, and ears wide open. You are looking at the relevance. So then it's about researchability, whether this problem is researchable, whether this problem can provide solution, and of course whether this research is useful and whether this is novel and practical and feasible. Also, I have been given an indication that I have taken much of the time, so I'll be here brief. So what is the clues to, because we say time and again, we say that the research should be original, the research should be genuine, it should not be copied. So what are the clues? So literature deficiency, new methodology, scare interest, the past interest of the young researcher, so to do great work, or seeing further than others is possible only when one stands on the shoulders of the giants. So the old literature helps us to understand what we are going to do in the future course of time, in terms of the novelty of the problem, in terms of the genuinity of the problem. So what are certain do's and don'ts? So don't borrow, address the right question, be objective. So what we have discussed, be flexible and uncommitted, have more than one problem to the problem. I said for thousands of questions, you may have only one or two answers. So decision on the methodology. So superficial and obvious problems we should not take. We should not take too narrow problems or vague problems. We should identify the gaps through the related literature. Don't overlook interaction. So we need to have certain interaction with all the experts, with all the stakeholders who are concerned with the problem. The brainstorming of ideas and thoughts is very much important. So do a preliminary quick and dirty study before formulating a research problem. You need to have a quick study of a research problem. That is, we call a quick and a dirty study. You have your assumptions, you have your research questions, you try to find the answers of those questions through the through brainstorming, through talking to stakeholders, through reviewing the literature, through reading, and do check availability of required data. And then making the preliminary outline what is disagreed. We can draw concept diagrams, we can draw flow charts, we can eliminate certain disconnected facts, we can summarize resources, we can record random thoughts, and if thoughts are not relevant, we can discard. Research is a thinking process. You have to have a thinker in you 24/7, so that thoughts from all sides come to you, and later one by one you can, with your reasoning, with your logic, with your academic exercise, you can discard. Start writing at the very beginning. So if you have any idea, it's my request to you that start to write it, give it a writing dimension, so that you can think about it again and again, because memory most of the time fails us, so that we can pen it down, think of different dimensions of the problem, take that thinking into different dimensions, involve ourselves in critical thinking, understand by writing a detailed thing, we can understand our sources better, and we can draft more effectively. So then we have from moving from interest to topic. Mere interest is not enough. So if we have talked, we have debated, we have talked to others, we have visited the libraries, we have had our due diligence in reading and academic exercise, we develop a broad research topic, a very, very broad research topic. Then we can narrow it down with spatial variables, with spatial words, with spatial phrases. But initially we have to have a very broad domain, a very broad area of research. From now we have a topic, then we can come to the problem. the topic may be large, the problem may be small, wherein we can try to find the answers to the questions like what we can have, we can look into the correlations, we can look into the relationship, we can look into the questions of how we can arrive at a value. And if we have run out of questions, then we need to start again evaluating them, and start getting more questions out of them. Then moving from topic to questions, so it's interesting, mere interesting questions is not writing a question is not important. So these questions should be about particular members, about the groups we want to do research. So what are the effects on that group? Why should these readers be interested in such questions? What are the problems faced by researchers? So then when we are having certain questions, interesting questions, we can make a specific statement about those questions into the topic, and this topic becomes motivation for your research question and research interest. And after making this topic, we have to define the topic as a research problem, which is manageable, which is feasible, which is applicable, which is relevant. We have again here to consider the scope of the topic. So we should know the clues before needing to narrow downing of topic. The length, the amount of resources, publication, and popularity of the topic will decide how to narrow it down. We should have a general approach to the topic. Do we want to study the topic in an historical perspective, in a geographical perspective, or there are sociological angles attached to it? Then we can have these, we can again refine the topic by this. So are there similarities in my topic? Are there certain opposites or contrasts in my topic? Are there certain relationships in my topics? Are there certain realities in the form of values when I interpret my topic? Are there certain personification, or does my topic depict human qualities, or is there any depiction? So there are other ways of breaking down this topic. So there are other questions like what are the major questions? Is there a debate about the topic? Why did I choose the topic? Why did it interest me? Do I have an opinion about the topic? Who are our information providers? Who will furnish us with information? Who might publish our information? Because again, as you know, that these days these research papers are become a cliched thing. Everybody has to publish a research paper. So who, after my research, is somebody going to publish it? Who is affected by my topic? What are the organizations that are involved in topic? And where geographical location, the local location, the national location, or the international location is relevant to my topic? And when is the topic, or why is the topic important? Is the topic current, or is in historical? Can we make a comparison of this topic? So still we are not able to formulate. We have these dimensions. We have narrowed down these dimensions from the big background to a big topic, to a small topic, to a small area of interest, to a defined problem. But then we need to ask the help for researchers, for co-workers, from people in academia, to help us to formulate this topic in a very, very precise and scientific way. And here, what will help us to understand the gaps, the misunderstandings, the inconsistencies, the incomplete explanations, can help us to refine our topic. So look for the problem that your claim solves. So what are we going? We have to take a backward term. This problem, how is it going to solve our problem, my problem, the problem of the people? So do we agree with the sources, or are there certain contradictions? So these are the steps in formulating this research problem. The first is the research question, which is of utmost importance. Then the research question is not to be stated in a general way, but it is a specific way, so that we have a reasonable information, we have a brief and concise information to develop the title. We have to understand the nature of the problem. We built upon theories, built upon or we can give a conceptual model, or any question that will catch our interest. So again, then we have to survey the available literature of past studies and develop ideas through discussions and experiences. Then of course, we can rephrase the problem, set its objectives and hypothesis, operational definition in terms of concepts, assumptions, and postulates. Since I said our discipline, social science discipline, it is a confluence of many disciplines. So we have to have these, our definitions, our concepts, our assumptions, and postulates have an element of subjectivity. In order to remove that subjectivity from the research, we have to operationalize this definition. And again, stability of time, money, and data. And we have to have our, since it's a research and we are human beings that are doing research with all our constraints. So we have many constraints, maybe a constraint of time, space, and other coordinates of use. And last but not the least, what kind of methodology is accepted for my given research problem. So there is no shortcut to research. It's a deliberate and a hard work, which starts through these steps and ends in processing and analyzing of the data. So I have put deliberately a note over here. Above steps are not exhaustive nor mutually exclusive, but a series of closely related, continuously overlapping, and independent, non-linear steps of action. So these are what lies ahead is a wide road where one has to tread as a researcher. So what lies ahead is hard work as well as the pleasure for hunt. There is frustration, of course. At times we feel like, let's leave it, but more of satisfaction, period of confusion, but confidence at the end will come together. So research, we have an ambiguous, the person who does the research has ambiguous feelings. There are feelings of accomplishments, there are feelings of sometimes dejection, there are feelings that that sometimes we do not get to where we are. So but hard work, an open mind, and open to ideas, brainstorming, and extensive and intensive readings are often are the only ways with which we can formulate, just not do the research, formulate the research problem, wherein we can choose our topic of interest, where we can choose topic of relevance, where we can have a novel and a genuine research which will be productive, which will be applicable, which will be which will have a humane face in uplifting the mankind. With these words, I end my presentation. Thank you so much for being patient with me.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Very fruitful, enriching, thought-provoking, and a detailed session altogether, Professor Call, I must say, with lots of insights shared by you. Even the chat box is flooded with applauds and appreciations. So since we are running short of time, I will quickly provide a brief snapshot of today's session in just 4-5 lines. During the discussion, Professor Call very well echoed that research is a dynamic and complex process. Research has become a mandate issue today, and that there is an urgent need to have an academic rigor, zeal, and passion among researchers for conducting quality research. Professor Call enlightened us and presented the various nuances of conducting meaningful research, like posing research question and seeking a solution to it, loaded with curiosity, creativity, and learning. Problem of maintaining objectivity, and the other problem that she mentioned is its unpredictable nature. Thus, Professor Aarti presented a very detailed analysis and provided us conceptual clarity in understanding the basic issues while selection of a research problem in social science, and also provided a rational and logical solution to it. So indeed, a very good session altogether. So now let us take one by one the questions posed by the participants in the chat box. And what I could see in the chat box, the first question, that is the only question as of now, it is from Naz Pravina. And ma'am, she wants to know that what should be accurate age of a kid for going school?
So again, the research is an answer to her question. This is again a function of the society. This cannot, many questions regarding this have been answered through research. The NEP says it has to be like as early as 3 years of age. So earlier, again, as I say, social science research is impacted by the time in which we live, by the geographical locations in which we live, by the history we live. I was recently traveling somewhere and where I saw children of 7 or 8 years of age out of the school, and I was wondering why they are not in the school. So somebody told me that they better learn at their homes. So there are parents and children who voluntarily choose to be out of school, and they have their self-learning. So again, this is a question of research. Whosoever has asked the research should look into this. What is the appropriate age of learning? And this is again a subjective question. What do you mean by appropriate? What do you mean by age? Which age? Which culture? Which society? Which time zone? So again, a question of research, and my dear, you should go ahead with the research. And because I have no final answer, as I told you earlier, I'm not an expert. I am one among you. I would share my thoughts and whatever learnings I have, but the research may answer these questions. And people are nowadays meaningful, and people who really want their children to be learning in their young ages are directing their children for self-learning. Because as I told you, Professor Krishna Kumar's incident, he said, what do we crush the creativity of children in schools. We make them to shut up. And this was so, it has struck to me, and everywhere where it, maybe in class, maybe anywhere else, this thought comes to me. Yes, we were told, or even I as a teacher, when I started my career as a school, if I could not manage my kids in my classroom or the children, I would say, shut up, and you please keep your lips tight. And this has in a way, I am also responsible for this, that this has created a culture of not asking the right questions. We hardly in our classes, hardly in our schools, people are encouraged to ask questions. And with the result, there comes a time when the children do not have this habit of asking questions. If you do not have a right question, you will never seek answers to those questions. You will never develop your thought. You will never have your creativity in terms of your thinking of answers. You ask any postgraduate, or some of not any, some of the students that pursue their postgraduate studies. Ask them a fundamental questions. Why are you here pursuing postgraduate studies? I'm sure many of them will not come with a very good, very valid reasons of their presence in those courses. So these are things that education or we as teachers have done. हम क्या बोलते हैं, बहुत अपने आप को स्मार्ट समझते हो, क्वेश्चन पूछते हो, मैं टीचर हूँ, तुम क्यों मुझे क्वेश्चन करते हो. सो जो हमारी डिबेट की परंपरा थी, जो हमारी शास्त्रार्थ की परंपरा थी, जो हमारे एक दूसरे को सुनने की परंपरा थी, वो we have really done a lot of disservice to that, and that is why our students may get 90%, 99% marks in their examination, but when it comes to their creativity, when it comes to their originality, I'm sure there is something much more to be done on that account. Abhi Amazon, Google और क्या है Meta, ये सारी companies ने, there are 50,000 layoffs. 50,000 layoffs, and US job market is flooded with these young Indian children. My heart bleeds out for them because they have lost their job through an email. This is the face of organizations with faceless organizations. But why have they lost their job? It was not that they were not working hard. They were working very hard, but they were not contributors to the original idea. They were making repetitive these tasks. They were made to do repetitive tasks. Their originality was not never exploited, never strengthened, never reinforced, and that is why these young boys and girls are out of their jobs in just for the past 1 week we have seen. ये US में अभी भी there are many people who go for genuine research, whose research are genuine and whose researches are they are applied in different social domains. If we take the example of China, what does he do? What does China do? China takes this originality of researchers in terms of their thought processes, in terms of products, in terms of their knowledge domains, and copies them. And with the result, the inventor of mobile phones lies in US, the manufacturer of mobile phone lies in China. That is the difference, how societies or how countries pursue the domain of knowledge. We, like China, are very much procedural, very much repetitive, very much adhering to the practices that have been laid out, but not many of us are the contributors to the original idea.
मैम एक क्वेश्चन ये था कि जो रिसर्च प्रॉब्लम को इवेल्युएट करने के इंटरनल जो क्राइटेरियाज होते हैं, उसमें एक जो क्राइटेरिया, क्योंकि वो रिसर्चर से रिलेटेड होते हैं, कॉम्पिटेंस वाला, तो क्या रिसर्च प्रॉब्लम्स को कि इजी, एवरेज या डिफिकल्ट उस कैटेगरी में रखा जा सकता है?
देखिए, जो ओरिजिनल होगा वो कभी इजी नहीं होगा, जो नॉवल होगा वो कभी इजी नहीं होगा, बिकॉज इट हैज टू बी समथिंग न्यू. जो कॉपीड होगा वो इजी होगा.
नहीं, उस इजी की बात नहीं कर रहा हूं मैं. इजी का मतलब है मैम कि अगर हम किसी रिसर्च प्रॉब्लम को इन्वेस्टिगेट करते हैं और उसमें जो स्टैटिस्टिकल टेक्निक्स यूज हो रही हैं, एक तो जो नॉर्मली मैक्सिमम लोग यूज करते हैं टी टेस्ट या काई स्क्वायर पे जाकर रुक जाते हैं, लेकिन उसके ऊपर भी जो एडवांस टेक्निक्स हैं, स्टैटिस्टिकल टेक्निक्स, उस डिफिकल्टी लेवल की मैं बात कर रहा हूँ। एक रिसर्च है जो परसेंटेज पर आकर उसका एनालिसिस रुक जाता है, एक जो रिसर्च है जिसमें हाई लेवल की या एडवांस लेवल की जो स्टैटिस्टिकल टेक्निक्स है वो यूज हो रही है। तो उस बेसिस पे, क्योंकि कॉम्पिटेंस जब डिफर कर रहा है किसी भी कैंडिडेट का या रिसर्चर का, तो क्या रिसर्च प्रॉब्लम्स भी उनके कॉम्पिटेंस को मैच करें उस तरह की नहीं होनी चाहिए, क्योंकि ऐसा कुछ देखने को मिलता नहीं प्रैक्टिस में।
लेकिन ये कौन मैच करेगा? Who is going to match it?
देखिए, ये जो रिसर्च गाइड है वो उसका काम तो मैच करने का, और कहीं ना कहीं जैसे बाकी कोर्सेज में करिकुलम बनाते हैं सीबीएसई के, वो देखें आपने सर, जो मैम जो एग्जाम्स होते हैं कि इतना पार्ट उसमें इजी क्वेश्चन का होगा, इतने एवरेज का होगा, इतना डिफिकल्ट का होगा। तो ऐसा कुछ हुआ है? क्योंकि अभी रिसर्च में मुझे कुछ नजर नहीं आता उस तरह का।
देखिए, मैं रिसर्च, अगर जो जेन्युइन रिसर्च होगा वो ओरिजिनल होगा, उसमें आपको मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी, उसमें आपको रिक्वायर्ड स्किल्स एंड कॉम्पिटेंसीज पढ़नी, और इट विल ऑल डिपेंड ऑन योर रिसर्च क्वेश्चन। आप किस हद तक उसको प्रूव करना चाहते हैं, आप किस हद तक उसको स्टैटिस्टिक एनालिसिस में लेना, नॉट ओनली स्टैटिस्टिक, क्वालिटेटिव इज मच मोर डिफिकल्ट देन दिस
स्टैटिस्टिकल से मैं समझने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ कि मान लीजिए मेरी ओरिजिनल प्रॉब्लम है, डेटा भी मैंने ओरिजिनली कलेक्ट किया और उसका एनालिसिस सिर्फ परसेंटेज के बेसिस पे किया। एक दूसरा कैंडिडेट है जिसने उसका एनालिसिस टी टेस्ट या काई स्क्वायर को लगाया, तो दोनों का जो डिफिकल्टी लेवल है स्टैटिस्टिकल टेक्निक्स को लेके अलग अलग हो गया। मैं ये कहने की कोशिश, जबकि दोनों की रिसर्च ही ओरिजिनल है।
अब मैं यही कह रही हूँ, इट विल डिपेंड ऑन योर रिसर्च क्वेश्चन। किस हद तक आप उसमें उस डेटा को इंटरप्रेट करना चाहिए, किस डेप्थ तक उस डेटा को इंटरप्रेट करना चाहते हैं, किस डेप्थ तक उसको एनालाइज करना चाहते हैं, टू विच एक्सटेंट डू यू वांट टू एनालाइज दिस।
मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था कि अगर वो कम डेप्थ में भी एनालाइज करना चाहता तो कहीं ना कहीं डिग्री तो अवॉर्ड करते हैं ना उसको भी फिर।
हाँ, तो डिग्री तो अवॉर्ड होगी। अगर कॉपीड रिसर्च को डिग्री अवार्ड होती है और इसको क्यों नहीं डिग्री? आफ्टर ऑल, जैसे आपने कहा, ओरिजिनल आइडिया है, काम किया हुआ है, अब किस डेप्थ में भी देखिए, स्टैटिस्टिकल कॉम्पिटेंस होना ही सिर्फ रिसर्च के लिए जरूरी नहीं, क्योंकि सोशल साइंस में हमें बोथ क्वालिटेटिव एंड क्वांटिटेटिव डेटा चाहिए, और क्वालिटेटिव से हमें एक इन डेप्थ मिलती है और क्वांटिटेटिव से हमें एक इनसाइट मिलती है, सो इन रिसर्च प्रॉब्लम्स को तभी तो हम कहते हैं आपका रिसर्च क्वेश्चन क्या है, किस डेप्थ तक आप जाओगे, कौन से पैरामीटर्स लोगे, किस तरह से डेटा को एनालाइज करोगे। सो though the research would be original, but I must say the research will be superficial, जब तक उसके हद में नहीं जाओगे।
मेरा मैम एक क्वेश्चन और, कि सिलेक्शन ऑफ ए रिसर्च प्रॉब्लम और डेफिनेशन ऑफ ए रिसर्च प्रॉब्लम या डिफाइनिंग ए रिसर्च प्रॉब्लम, ये दोनों चीजें सेम है या अलग अलग है?
सिलेक्शन आप एक ब्रॉड टॉपिक को करते हैं, एक ब्रॉड एरिया को करते हैं, लेकिन जब आप प्रॉब्लम डिफाइन करते हैं, जैसे मैंने अभी कहा, नैरो करते हैं, आप उसको नैरो करते हैं इन टर्म्स ऑफ इट्स, आपको कॉज एंड इफेक्ट देखना है, आपको कोरिलेशन देखनी है, आपको व्हाट्स के आंसर चाहिए, आप उन चीजों को नैरो करते हैं इन टर्म्स ऑफ वेरिएबल्स। और जो टॉपिक होता है वो एक ब्रॉडर डोमेन से आता है, जब आप नैरो करते हैं उस चीज को, तब आप उस प्रॉब्लम को डिफाइन करते हैं।
ओके मैम, थैंक यू।
थैंक यू सो मच मैम। द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन,
कुछ कहना चाह रहे हैं शायद श्वेता मैम?
हाँ हाँ बिल्कुल सर। गोपाल सर, प्लीज सर।
मुझे कुछ एक्सप्रेशन।
जी नहीं बिल्कुल ठीक। आरती मैडम ने जो कहा वो बातें, कई सारी बातें हैं, लेकिन हम लोग संयोग देखिए कि बहुत इंटरेस्ट से लोग जुड़े हुए हैं, पर कई बार लगता है कि बहुत हम लोग ये इतनी बढ़िया चर्चा चल रही है कि पता चला कि हम अगले डेट्स में पहुंच जाएंगे, ऐसा लग रहा है, और कभी मन नहीं हो रहा है कि इसको कंक्लूड करें। लेकिन वो बात जो अभी उन्होंने कही ना संजय जी की, डेफिनेशन इज समथिंग, वो बिल्कुल हम हिंदी में लेते हैं तो क्या करते हैं, परिभाषित करते हैं, परिमित करते हैं। मैं अपने हिंदी का थोड़ा सा उसमें डाल दूं कि उसको परिमित कर देते हैं। जो भाषा है, भाषा को बिल्कुल परिमित कर देते हैं, परिधि बांध देते हैं। तो यू आर लाइक वो नैरो डाउन कर रहे हैं उसको। और मतलब वो नेगेटिव नोशन नहीं है, लेकिन वो जो एक पता चला कि उसके नोशंस बहुत विस्तारित हो तो कहाँ तक, वो एक फिक्स कर देते हैं उसका। और डेफिनिशन वही है, वो डेफिनिट से डेफिनिशन आ रहा है कि एक निश्चित उसकी बाउंड्री बना देते हैं। सिलेक्शन तो हम करते ही हैं उसमें। और वो जो मैडम ने जो बताया आपको कि क्वांटिटेटिव की समस्या एक रहती है, क्वांटिटेटिव से हम प्रिसीजन तक पहुंचते हैं, पर सोशल साइंसेज में आप जब तक बताएंगे नहीं कि आपका जो ऑब्जेक्टिव था वो किस तरह से आपने अचीव किया और क्या क्या उसके इंटरप्रिटेशंस हैं। आमतौर पर क्वांटिटेटिव में ऑफ लेट जो एक टेंडेंसी रही है ना, कि हम लेवल ऑफ सिग्निफिकेंस अचीव कर लेते हैं, वो मिला देते हैं कि पॉइंट आ गया जी, डिस्क्रिप्टिव स्टैटिस्टिक्स भी यूज कर लिया या जो भी इन्फरेंशियल स्टैटिस्टिक्स यूज कर लिया, और उसको हम बता देते हैं कि जी इसका पी वैल्यू इतना आ गया, टी वैल्यू आ गया इतना, इसलिए हमारा जो है वो लेवल ऑफ सिग्निफिकेंस हो गया, दैट्स इट। वो सिर्फ स्टैटिस्टिक्स का एंड होता है। रिसर्च के क्वेश्चंस, जो आपका रिसर्च क्वेस्ट था, उसने अपने गोल को अचीव किया या नहीं किया, उसके क्या इंटरप्रिटेशंस हैं, क्या इंप्लीकेशंस हैं, और कितनी क्वालिटेटिवली आप इसको इलैबोरेट कर रहे हैं फॉर अदर रिसर्चर्स, फॉर फ्यूचर रिसर्चर्स और फॉर द सोसाइटी जिसके लिए आप रिसर्च कर रहे हैं। वो बड़ा मतलब, इसीलिए मैं तो यही कहता हूं सबको कि जब भी आप, इवन इफ यू आर डूइंग क्वांटिटेटिव रिसर्च, यू मस्ट इलैबोरेट इट क्वालिटेटिवली, क्योंकि उसके बिना वो रिसर्च का जो आउटरीच है या एक्सटेंशन है वो पॉसिबल ही नहीं हो पाता है। वो सिर्फ कोडिंग तक में सीमित रह करके रह जाता है। तो ये है इशू। बहरहाल ये बहुत बड़ा इशू है। हम रिसर्च की कॉम्पिटेंसीज को देखते हैं, मुझे याद आता है, आरती मैम को याद होगा, आप लोग शायद अभी उतना नहीं याद कर पाएंगे उस चीज को। यूजीसी ने 92 में एक अनाउंसमेंट कर दिया था पहले ही, वो 92 ईयर को कंप्लीट होने से बहुत पहले ही, कि 92 के 31 दिसंबर तक में जो भी अपना पीएचडी का थीसिस जमा कर देगा, सबमिशन सर्टिफिकेट हो जाए तो वो नेट से एग्जेम्प्टेड हो जाएगा। उस साल का आप रिकॉर्ड उठा करके देख लीजिए, एक रिसर्च इसी पर कर लीजिए, पूरे देश में कितनी पीएचडी थीसिस जमा हुई है। And I can't tell you, the quality of research was deeply buried somewhere. और वो क्या रिसर्च हुआ, गॉड ओनली नोज। वो बस इतने भर हुआ कि पीएचडी की थीसिस जमा हो गई, सबमिशन हो गया। तो जब हम इस तरह के माल प्रैक्टिसेस में पढ़ते हैं, तब हम क्वालिटी और ये सब तो हम बस थियोरेटिकल डेलिब्रेशन तक ही वो कन्फाइन करके रह जाते हैं। आवश्यकता ये है कि उसको हम जेन्युइनली करें, और वो रिसर्च कॉम्पिटेंसीज देखना और उसके हिसाब से करना, ये सब बहुत ही